Welcome to the 5th anniversary of Give Me a Break, the quinquennial of Give Me a Break. For 5 years, I've helped you out, giving you advice, giving you tips, and helping you get back on the right track. And can you believe this is where it all started?
Welcome to a new series I like to call Give Me a Break, where it's like John Stossel's old time Give Me a Break, where he talks about different topics in America.
Actually, it was my second.
To all the dumb things that all Americans do. I'm not calling Americans dumb. I'm just saying what dumb things American people do. Which is today's first topic: playing PlayStation, playing game consoles in public. If you're like,
and I remember this one. And throughout the next half hour, we're celebrating 5 years. Well, you'll watch this. This is taped today, and it's going to upload tomorrow. I should point out May 2nd was the start. The only reason why I did it was because let me tell you something. I've proven myself. So I'll tell you something right now. I've proven myself. I went to school for several years. I graduated high school. I've seen a lot of these things. I've seen a lot of things in school. Drugs, peer pressure, bullying, alcohol, violence in our schools, gang activity. I've seen it all happen, which is why almost 5 years later, I created my own show. Before I created my own show, I was the guy that plays guitar. Before I started my own show, I was still in school. Before I created my own YouTube channel, I created my first channel sophomore year. I used to call it Groundman Gears, but that got ripped off from Family Guy. So I didn't want to freaking throw them under the bus. That's what it's been like for 5 years. So this afternoon, and throughout the next, so today and tomorrow, we're gonna look back at some of my favorite topics throughout the 5 years of this broadcast. Now, what do you think about when people say "Give me a break"? Well, they're thinking about the show "Give Me a Break." It's an American sitcom. It's an American sitcom about the nonsense housekeeper and a surrogate mother for a police chief. Started back in the final episode was 1987. The final one, the first one was in 1981, and the final one was in 1987, sorry. Ran on for 6 seasons. But then, years later, back in 1999, John Stossel did his Give Me a Break for 2020, talking about all kinds of issues, from global warming to everything. And the definition of Give Me a Break is used to express its expression, protest, or disbelief. It's also used to tell someone to stop bothering you or treating you unfairly. And throughout the 5 years, I talked about a lot of things. I'll never forget the Oxford shooting that I talked about. I'll never forget that. For months, these two people were charged for involuntary manslaughter, and they claimed they're not good parents. I basically said to them, hey, you two were the ones that got the gun. You bombed the gun. And he went off and started terrorizing people. That's the whole gist of it. So the next trial date's in October, and we still won't know. I'll never forget the first time I talked about playing PlayStation and throwing Bang Jam under the bus. Because of his tactics. Tell you something. It's a public place. They have no trespass signs. A public place is a private space. Outside is public. A private space is a private space. Walmart, H-E-B. They won't allow you to play PlayStation in the restaurant because we have people who want to eat. And then people want to hear pew 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 picture? Well, there was also one, I think I talked about it. If I didn't talk about it, I'll talk about it again. There was also one from someone named, I think I remember he played it at Walmart. And the Walmart guy's like, where'd you get this? Is it okay? Can't play it here. And then all of a sudden, they left. He did it again. This time he did it at Target, he had a GameStop, and at the mall. And then the mall security was like, you ever come back and play PS4, blah, 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 you're banned. That's what I'll never forget. And I laughed so hard, like playing PlayStation at church, playing PlayStation at school, in college, in the library. I laughed freaking so hard. And can you see the difference right there? Back then, look at that. I had long hair. And I now have short hair because of Maury Povich. One of the few of my inspirations. Alright. Later on in the special, why I changed the name to Cut Me a Break this year. And then decided to change it back to the original. But when we come back, a topic that I will never forget, talking about our nation's school lunch. And why kids are saying, ew, I hate the school lunch. Let's go to McDonald's. Please don't go away. After years of going to school and 5 years on this show, I find that every now and then the school lunchroom is a great place to eat. But when I hear stories, when I see social media pictures of people's disgusting lunch, that got me wondering, is it really healthy? I'll never forget that story about when Javier Guerra looked into a school in Robstown and saw that disgusting photo and the person who did not want to be identified. Take a look.
Students, imagine getting this for lunch. So not really appealing when grandmother decided to post a tortilla, cheese, pictures on Facebook, which soon became viral. That woman who asked to be called Norma tells us she cauliflower, apple, and child's school principal.
Yes, I had a call from the principal yesterday, and she assured me that there are going to be a lot of changes. They're supposed to have a meeting on Monday.
We reached out to Robstown ISD, and they sent us a statement saying, quote, while we are certain our child nutrition team works tirelessly throughout the school year to prepare meals for students on a daily basis, these photos show that in this case, we've missed the mark, and the meal was distributed without the proper review. They also say they are taking additional steps to monitor meals to make sure this does not happen again. We spoke to a clinical dietitian with Chris Spahn, who tells us why it's important students get adequate nutrition during school.
Listen. So making sure they have adequate nutrition throughout the day, making sure they get their appropriate calories.
I was looking at the time.
And fat and carbohydrates and all the vitamins and minerals to be vegetable food is super important.
Robstown Mayor Gilbert Gomez also echoed that statement, who says he knows sometimes children depend on school food to eat.
I think it is very important that they do get a good meal at lunchtime at the school. So, and I'm glad that the schools say that they're going to do better. They're striving to do their best, and that's the way it should be.
The school district is promising to do better. To read the entire statement, you can head to our website. That's ChrisTV.com. Reporting in Robstown, Javier Guerra for 6 News.
And happening tomorrow, Robstown.
And tomorrow, if you live in a Robstown area, you will know that there is a meeting happening at the auditorium to voice.
And I didn't realize that. But
your concerns about this.
But there's also one I'll never forget. I might have talked about this, but if I didn't, I'll talk to you about it right now. I remember during my time here, I looked at a school lunch employee. The head of the school lunch was fired by the superintendent. But there was this one employee that works with the school. The head. I'm not going to spend all this time. I think I found it. Take a look.
Carry on.
That employee got fired, and the superintendent spoke out about what happened. So let's take a look.
They're awful.
Pictures of burnt pizzas and something so charred
That's
it
the
is
ribs.
hard to identify fill Beth Paulette's camera roll.
What is that? Those are the ribs, supposedly.
Paulette says her sons first showed her the pictures of the cafeteria food at King and Queen Central High School on Monday, and other students confirmed their story.
It just looked so unappetizing. I could not even bring myself to even try it at all.
We brought those concerns to Superintendent Dr. Stanley Jones, who was out of town but spoke to us over the phone. Would you want the children here eating food that looked like that? Or being served food that looked like that? Jones admitted there is a problem and confirmed the head of food services for the entire school system was suspended a couple of weeks ago.
If an employee is suspended, generally it's going to be related to performance.
I have an email that
But we talked to that suspended employee, Suzanne Gilbertson, and she says none of this is her fault.
my cafeteria employees have always been told if you're not going to eat it, don't serve it to the students.
Gilbertson says the superintendent put someone in charge of the high school's cafeteria a few months ago, and she
After
says that
the
person
suspension.
is not properly trained. On top of that, Gilbertson says these emails show that she reached out to Dr. Jones about the issue, but she was told she did not have any authority over the new manager.
I was advised that these employees, they don't report to me as they report to human resources and to the superintendent.
Now, the superintendent also told me he expects his food services employees to work together as a team, and if they did, this issue wouldn't exist. He said he would address the overcooked food with his staff immediately. As for Gilbertson, she plans to address the school board with her concerns at their next board meeting. Working for you tonight, I'm Melissa Hippolyte for CBS 6.
And that was a big issue. And throughout the 5 years, I've been telling people, if you don't like the school lunch, don't eat it. You bring lunch from home. But when I was in school, when I went to school, I saw people getting in their cars and going to get McDonald's, going to get Whataburger, Burger King, Jack in the Box, Subway, pizza. And for my old school, we have two restaurants. We have Domino's Pizza and a taco stand right across the street from the school. And we also have a Dollar General. Not realizing it's a safety issue, for safety purposes. And I'm telling people, hey, if you don't like the school lunch, just bring lunch from home in a lunch box. When I was in school, it was early release day. I didn't eat lunch. I figured, okay, it was early release day, so I didn't want to eat anything. I just have something when I get home. When I was in school, it was the same crap every day and every week. But I got over it. I've gotten used to it. What was I going to do? Throw it all away in the waste? That's money. If you throw food away, that costs money. From our tax dollars. That's why everyone has what we call closed campus. Closed campus basically means students are not allowed to leave campus at 800 on a school day unless a parent signs them out. And I'll never forget the unhappy mail to where 2 students brought McDonald's. They said a friend got it for her, and then she didn't want to say what the friend was. And then after that, two Saturday schools, the next 2 Saturdays. But we still don't know what happened because the show was canceled. There was no updates. But I also will never forget when I first focused in on truancy. Gordon Palmer, Nueces County, and we'll look at that when we return. Welcome back to the 5-year celebration of Get Me a Break. You know, I've always talked about a lot of issues going on in our school, which is the main subject of this program, which is the main subject of the broadcast. always about education because education has fallen off the map with violence, drugs, gang-related activities. But one thing I will never forget is when I focused in on truancy, a growing concern in New Oasis County. I specifically told you how to prepare, what parents need to do, and basically what students need to do. But if you live in the Oasis County, you will know that truancy is a growing problem in Oasis County. And ever since years ago, I focused on a lot of truancy. From basically parents being arrested to kids just who come with the craziest excuse, like they're being bullied. I don't want to get out of bed. These issues have been going on for years, and yet when kids don't go to school, everyone loses. I'll never forget when I talked about parents who were arrested for not sending their kids to school. It was 40 parents in California. I'll never forget that.
Peace of mind.
That's one story I will never forget. And parents out there, shortly, I'm going to tell you what you parents out there can do to make sure you send your child, make sure your child stays in school.
Their children didn't show up to class, so the parents ended up in handcuffs. Local law enforcement hopes it sends a strong message to parents to get involved in their child's lives. Well, tonight, KCRA3's Leticia Ordaz spoke with some mothers who spent the day behind bars.
My son is in a charter school program, and they still arrested me.
Tonight, this mother who would not give us her name was released after spending the entire day locked up at the Sacramento County Jail.
How did you feel, though, to be arrested today? It's degrading, it's humiliating, it's harassment.
Today, 100 officers throughout Sacramento joined forces with the district attorney's office to arrest nearly 40 parents who had warrants for not sending their children to school.
The importance is that we want to get a message to the parents that you need to send your kids to school every day and be on time every day. We want to get those kids educated so they don't fall in the cracks, they don't get in trouble with the law.
It's a message this parent got quickly. When she was released from jail this evening, she was too upset to talk. Her brother, Richard, who would only give us his first name, told us the truancy sweep targeting parents was unfair and humiliating.
Oh, I'm not happy because I feel it was a waste of time. I feel that they could have spent this time going after criminals, looking for a child, not doing a truancy sweep.
See the hoods that they're wearing. Obviously, they know the school has cameras.
Vince Matrenga is the police chief for the Sacramento City Schools. He can only hope this week will get more students in the classroom during school hours and fewer teens destroying school property after hours.
When kids don't go to school, everyone loses.
Many parents are bailing out of jail tonight, but one mother who's been arrested before will have to stay here for 45 days. In Sacramento, Leticia Ordaz, KCRA 3 reports.
And now this student's going to add into the 5-year memory books. A tip that I'm telling you guys right now. If you want to make sure your child is going to school, you and your child have to download the Life 360 app. And for many people say, oh, I don't want to track my child. I'm not going to helicopter, Mom. You can if you want your child to stay in school. I use it. My mom uses it. Me and my mom both use it, and I gotta say, it works perfectly. Make sure that it will make sure that I get to school, I get this and that and the other, I get home, blah 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 blah. But this is one story I'll never forget. I'll never forget when Alex Jones exposes the truancy court sham in our school system. I will never forget that. Let's take a look.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, Mike, play the clip, please. Local CBS, how good it is. You were late to class. You're on probation and drug tested. Go ahead and play it.
Serious problem. Yolanda? The Truancy Court is a pilot program that will last until September. It's a very serious court. Studies show juvenile delinquency often begins with kids cutting class. And the program's goal is to get kids going to class. This may not look like a courthouse.
My concern is that you go to every class every day.
And this may not look like a courtroom. But these kids are in serious trouble. Judge Jean Muir is hearing 36 cases of kids cutting class.
If you lie to me, I'm going to put you under oath. If you lie to me, it's called contempt. Contempt means I can lock you up.
In this case, the judge suspects the student has more problems than skipping school. The judge orders a drug.
You have a Fifth Amendment. In America, they don't call you in and go, answer my questions or I'm going to lock you up. Now, these children, we looked at the cases, what they do in there. If you're late 3 times, that's considered truancy. Not under the law, but under this kangaroo court. Notice they said, very serious court. You know, the judge wanted to know that. This is it's not a court. They're just in there getting people into the system. They're not your friend. The government in there to help you. The corporations have an edict to get people into the system. They say we're going from the 5 to 7 million that are in there now to 33 million by the end of this decade. Now, how are they going to get that many people into prisons? By criminalizing everything. Sorry, guys. Go ahead and go back to the tape.
And this may not look like a courtroom, but these kids are in serious trouble. Judge Jean Muir is hearing 36 cases of kids cutting class.
If you lie to me, I'm going to put you under oath. If you lie to me, it's called contempt. Contempt means I can lock you up.
In this case, the judge suspects the student has more problems than skipping school. The judge orders a drug test.
You understand me?
Mendez Middle School students caught cutting class will meet here.
So, you're late to class 3 times, because a few years ago we did these case by case. Now it's expanded all over the city. You're late to class 3 times, and they call you in and you sign a form saying you're on probation. It wasn't a court. You weren't found guilty. It's just sign this form. I ordered you. I'll arrest you if you don't. Okay, and then you just put yourself into the system for life. And then she goes, she suspects. She suspects. Ooh, she's psychic. My God, she's the oracle. We go to the oracle out of the hole in the rock. She tells us what to do. She suspects. Yeah, vote her out. Vote her out when the election isn't even here in town. When it's all run by the government. When there's no voting record. Let's face the horror of how bad things have gotten. So you just heard it. And that's not 1/1000th of how bad it really is. Go back to the tape, please.
Week, along with their parents, probation officers, a judge, and truancy officers.
If the court could come to us, then that way the neighborhood and the community can't say, well, it's too far.
This students, like all the others today, receive something called deferred prosecution. That means if they go to class for 60 days straight, their past problems won't go on their records.
We, the parents, you know, what we have to do is support kids. In any kind of way they need us.
And as for the court system, cases are funneled through quickly to prevent a backlog of paperwork.
This makes it a lot more efficient, you know. 2, the kids are already here. And you also are trying to make a statement to the schools that this is important. Listen, it's not a game, and I mean it.
The Truancy Court pilot project will last until September. The program could expand to other schools if funding is available. And after today, students who are on probation who miss class again could face stiffer sentences, like time in a detention center or fines. Yolanda Hawkins.
Yeah, that's what America's all about now, is learning how to be in a detention center, learning how to swipe your ID card, be given your tattletale card with $250 cash bonuses for turning parents in. We have the local newscast of that. Report your parents, $250, bonus. We had time, we'd play that. This is hell on earth, and it makes me very angry. And if it spills over to others, I'm sorry. But, again, a third adjudication. Oh, this gets rid of the backlog, speeds things up. We can come to the children and help them. It's not a real court. It's sign here.
I agree with Alex Jones, and that's the one I will never forget. But I'll never forget the investigation I done into the Schofield family case right after Dr. Phil. We'll look at that when we return. I don't know of any other news magazine or talk shows that did investigations, but that's what sets this show apart. Investigations. I give you facts. I give you details. Days or weeks, years after it aired. It aired on Dr. Phil. It aired on YouTube. I will never forget the Schofield case. Susan, Michael, Corey, Jenny, and Bodie. 4 to 5 people were involved in this. The whole reason this whole thing started was because Jenny had schizophrenia. Bodie has autism, but Susan claims he has both autism and schizophrenia. But when they went on Dr. Phil 2012, I mean, this was years after, like several years after, and this was 3 years ago now. 3 years later, how is she doing? Well, if you look up Susan Schofield, on YouTube, one of her videos is still on there, and Jenny has been growing. But years later, I mean, her Facebook post. I mean, I even talked to one of the people. I was going to talk to the family, but they declined. That's a story I will never forget. Looking back at this, when I first did this, I mean, this involved autism. That's what was involved. It was Melchizedek paroxysm. That's what I want to never forget. I'll also never forget the time where a Flower Bluff student got his hair cut. That's the one I never forget. That was almost 3 years ago. And years later, I'm trying to find out which one of the drill instructors cut that hair. Did that haircut from years ago. The school district said they're investigating this, and I had to agree. But we still don't know what happened. They haven't released any details. The father was mad because no one knew. And also a story I'll never forget was when another student outside of Flower Bluff got a haircut. Agreed to a haircut provided by a school counselor who shaved it up. Buzz, 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 buzz. But there's two sides. The school district said that Danny agreed to keep him out of school, to keep him in school suspension, and stepdad's reaction was what happened. It was all about the Clippers, but the question was, did that person have a license? And after that, they changed schools. But we still don't know what happened after this case. We'll still look into this case, and we'll provide you more information as it happens. I will be back in just a moment. Welcome back to the 5-year celebration of Give Me a Break. The one thing I'll never forget was when I talked about homework. This was inspiration from another YouTube channel done from Blood Blitz and Rob's Ranch, who did the homework segment, the 7 reasons why homework sucks. I told you what had happened, why homework sucks, and the reasons why it sucks, this, and that, and the other, and I did homework. Like, I proved myself. I went to school, but I sometimes gotten C's and F's, but I had to push myself to try harder, to study. I passed my classes. I went to summer school 2 times. Once back in 2009, another back in 2015 because I failed the test. That's how it was. That's how it was with people. If you flunk your classes, you're going to summer school. That's how it was. That's how it was for me. I passed my test, moved on to 6th grade. I passed my U.S. history test, makeup test, and I was a senior. That's how it was. That's how it was for me. I will never forget that. And on a future segment, we'll focus in on summer school and what parents and kids need to do to make sure to keep up their grades. We're out of time for now. We're out of time for now. We've tried to be saying, Jonathan, there's more. We still haven't heard. We still haven't heard what you have to say. We want a behind the scenes look. We want more. You're gonna get more. I said before the beginning of the show that it's gonna be a 2 to 3 parter. This is part 1. Part 1's gonna be uploaded tomorrow, and tomorrow, part 1 could be uploaded today, which is gonna be the 5-year celebration eve in parentheses. Then tomorrow is the big day. At my old school. I wanted to do it from back where it all started. At my old school. I grew up in Fire Bluff. I went to school. I was raised in Fire Bluff. I walked the streets with my guitar. And years later, I'm helping people out. I'm more than just a show. So with that in mind, that's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Sunday, the special Give Me a Break Sunday. We will see you again tomorrow for part 2 of our 5-year celebration. Don't you miss it now, because you may see another side of me that you won't even see. And if you want to send us a video message saying happy 5 years of Give Me a Break, whatever, then you're more than welcome to. If you have any questions, you can ask me questions, and I'll read your questions on the air. If I read your questions on the air, I'll give you an autograph. Have a good day, everyone, and a good night, and I will see you tomorrow.